Halloween is over.
So true, bestie.
Halloween may be over, but the supernatural continues to haunt me.
And the super organic.
That too.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Beauty by the Beaker.
Hello.
The podcast where science gets a hot new makeover.
It sure does.
I'm Sadie.
I'm Natalie.
Oh, I should have waited and said, and this is the podcast where science gets a hot new makeover.
Well, it's not too late.
That's fine. It's fine. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us for another week. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, we are. We're like officially into the double digits now.
Yeah. What episode is this? 12, 13?
11.
Okay.
This is 11. Episode 11.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of episodes.
Lucky number 11. Is that a thing or is that just my cousin's favorite number?
Well, there's like 1111.
Okay, cool.
Which is important to many.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Today we're talking about something very exciting.
Very, very
This is probably our most requested topic to discuss. We don't have that many followers, so it wasn't like a lot of people requested it.
Not
But
yet.
speaking of which, go follow us
Please.
on our socials, Beauty X Beaker everywhere. Anyway, Nat, do you want to let us know what we're talking about?
Well, yes, I do. Just like always, I started researching this topic, got really, really far into it, and ended up with pages and pages of research about lots of things that don't need to be talked about today.
They're like loosely related.
That are very loosely related.
Yeah.
So I scaled it back, and today will be the first in a series of natural versus synthetic.
I'm so stoked. I actually get a lot of questions from people about whether or not they should be using natural cosmetic.
Well, guess what? We don't really have an answer for you.
Okay. I was because say questions will be answered today, but I guess not.
No, they won't. I did want to just get this part out of the way. We say this about everything, but there's no black and white answers. There just can't be. And anyone who claims that something is 100% the right thing for you, run.
Yeah.
They're trying to get your money. Give it to them. Keep your money.
Keep your money.
I don't want your money. I don't sell a product.
Seriously.
Well, I do want your money, but not for that reason.
I want your money to buy merch.
Exactly. There's no better or worse, especially when it comes to natural versus synthetic in cosmetic materials.
It kind of depends on the material itself, right?
It does. It's very subjective on the material, the dose, the person, the application, the origin, so many things. And it all just depends on what question we're asking, what's the problem we're trying to solve. And as it turns out, you solve one problem and you make another one worse. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah. Everything's chaos.
That's true. And the grayos, there you go.
Whatever that means.
It feels so scary and lonely. But rest assured, we are here to hold your hand and walk you through it because therein does lie your answer.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
You will find it. Before we even start our overview today, the goal of this podcast is always going to be to create an environment that just makes you feel better about who you are and what you like. Never to add to your confusion or make you feel panicked or anything like that. We do know that there is a lot going on, and our goal is not to make you feel like you have to solve all the problems in the world. It's not the place here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when it comes to cosmetics, there are also a lot of problems. Ultimately, the ones that are responsible for that are the brands that are selling the product. At the end of the day, you, a consumer, there are things that you can do, but use a product that you feel good about.
Yeah.
Whether it's your skin or conscience or whatever you like, packaging even, if that's what your main criteria is, that's what we always want to inspire.
Yeah.
Want to get that out of the way before I trash talk natural ingredients.
Yeah, like basically don't feel stressed by how much information we have and don't feel like you need to use all of this to make a decision about what product you're going to buy. If anything, take this and be like, wow, it is really confusing.
Yeah.
I don't need to know everything. I just need to find what I like.
Exactly. Today's episode is going to be just focusing on trying to define what natural even means in the cosmetic space.
Good luck.
And literally, that's basically the only thing we're going to be able to do in today's episode.
Yeah.
Let alone talk about all of the different ins and outs of everything. But again, there is no blanket statement. So if someone online is saying that something is bad for you, something is good for you, they actually might not know you.
So true.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said that the goal is to define what natural is. What is natural? What does that mean?
I'm glad you asked. And everyone seems to be asking that same question.
Word on the street. The people want to know what natural means.
Well, I'm going to give you the very clear, very black and white definition between natural ingredients and synthetic ingredients.
Okay. Does that mean this episode's going to be short?
Unfortunately, I am being sarcastic because the line between these two ingredients does not exist.
That's unfortunate. That's so funny. That's how you know we're actually friends in real life.
For real. Anyway, the line is non-existent. The limit does not exist.
The line? Did you say the line does not exist?
The limit is non-existent. And that's what I'm saying for sure.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about the limit.
Okay. The line between these two ingredients is so non-existent, in fact, that the FDA does not have any sort of definition of what natural means. As a reminder, the FDA is the Food and Drug Administration. Cosmetics, not food. You can put that over there. They can be drugs, though. You know, this would be in the case of like sunscreen, pain topicals,
antiperspirant,
acne products. Ooh.
We know her.
So if it comes from the drug section of your grocery store, if it has an active ingredients panel, then it's a drug.
We talked about that was it the SPF episode?
Yeah, we did a little bit. So it's not the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Administration, but the FDA is still the governing body over cosmetics. So in the US, it is a little bit more of an honor system. Brands are ultimately responsible for making sure that their products are not contaminated and that they only contain true information on the packaging with all the ingredients labeled out. So the FDA doesn't approve cosmetic products before they go on the market. But if anyone does have issue with a cosmetic, the FDA is the governing body that will step in and take action.
Yeah, and enforce.
Yeah. As a reminder, the reason that I'm bringing all of this up is because the FDA, who is basically the legal guardian of cosmetics, but is like the evil stepmother or something.
She's got other things going on.
Yeah, she's the absent stepmother.
Yeah.
Absent stepfather.
Yeah, seriously.
Women have it hard enough.
Genuinely.
Enough with the women hate.
From one of our own.
And I claim to be a feminist.
Misogyny runs deep.
My veins get out. But the FDA, they don't have any definition of natural. The FDA, they don't have any definition of natural. And that's when it comes to food and drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
Natural food doesn't even exist?
No.
Do they say anything about it on their website?
They say that you have to be honest about it. And so
it's basically up to the brand's discretion to check if their ingredients are natural.
Yeah, it is on the brands to check that their ingredients are natural. But as long as the brands can justify that the ingredients or the product is natural to them, then they're good to go.
That's another thing that's so insane about natural is it's a spectrum. And well, I don't know if you're going to get into that, but there's not even a definition for natural ingredients.
Yeah.
There's naturally refined, there's a natural origin index.
Yeah, and when we start thinking a little bit more about it, which we will, it does start to make some sense why we can't really draw a line anywhere, but we will get to that. Because there isn't no definition.
It's just not consistent, right?
Well, there are some people making some sort of definition. There are some industry standards or certifications that products or ingredients can obtain. And this means that they follow some criteria that gives them this organization's seal of approval. So we've seen these before. Next time you're looking at a cosmetic, especially one that is marketing itself as clean or natural or something to that extent, you may notice little badges or seals to show that it's certified cruelty-free.
There's like the Leaping Bunny one.
Yeah, things like that. Typically, those are given to products by nonprofit organizations. So it's not really a governmental body. It's just kind of a group. One big one, probably the biggest one, is known as Cosmos. Obviously, this is short for Cosmetic, Organic, and Natural Standard. or Cosmos.
What the hell?
Yeah, one thing that
Where'd they get the M from? I think comes from cosmetic.
It did. And then
Organic standard?
Well, it's organic and natural.
And like natural doesn't actually have a definition, so we're not including it in our acronym.
Well, yeah, maybe that is the case because we'll talk about that too when we try to define this further. But Cosmos, or the Cosmetic, Organic, and Natural Standard, they offer 2 different product certifications. They have Cosmos Organic and Cosmos Natural.
Any other acronyms they want to throw in there for either of those?
A little brief history, but they started in the early 2000s in Brussels at a trade show. 4 countries got together. This included like a bunch of organizational standards for different countries. They wanted to set more of a global standard. So kind of unify what the definition was. Be a more consistent regulation.
Out of those 2, I assume we're mostly talking about Cosmos Natural for this episode at least. What does it mean?
We are going to mostly talk about Cosmos Natural, but because I did do a little bit of looking into this on their website and there's a lot of other like publications, and the natural part definitely seemed, at least to me, to be an afterthought.
Yeah, it's not even included in the acronym.
Yeah. A lot of these standards focus a lot more on the organic side, and they do outline what it means to be organic. One of the groups that is part of Cosmos, those 5 countries, is EcoCert, and they are the ones that it was their standards that were adopted by everybody. So these are the standards set by EcoCert / Cosmos.
For what natural means?
Organic.
Oh, that's right, because natural's
This is their core values. Okay?
Okay.
Ask not for a definition. This is an EcoCert core value.
Like, I didn't make it.
So I did read a whole article that Jen Novakovic of the EcoWell podcast, who we talk about a lot, I got a lot of this information from. As always, all of our sources will be linked in
the blog post.
Yeah, environmentally friendly production processing processes, respecting also human health. She did say that when it comes to Cosmos's efforts on environmental effects, they do try, and she does specialize in environmental chemistry and sustainability. Yeah, so hopefully that means that they really are trying with that one. This next one, development of the concept of green chemicals. Okay. That one I did see on their website.
So they have a concept of a plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Responsible use of natural resources, respect of biodiversity, absence of petrochemical ingredients. So that includes parabens, phenoxyethanol, perfumes, and synthetic colorants. There are some petro-derived preservatives that are authorized for use and still can be considered Cosmos. Yes. Absence of GMO, which is genetically modified organisms, and then recyclable packaging.
Is this also food certification as well?
No. So this...
Do we use a lot of GMOs in... are there a lot of...
Yes.
Why didn't I realize?
There's not that many GMO crops, but GMOs are something that are very, very misunderstood.
Yes.
I want to do a full, as we go through this, I'll tell you all the episodes. Because like I said, I already researched all of these. My notes had to be condensed just to define natural.
Yeah.
So these episodes, they could be yours if only you'd ask. So,
as soon as you want them, let us know.
We're ready to go. Genetically modified crops, usually the reason that they are genetically modified is just to make them hardier. So there are things like apples that are genetically modified or corn.
So like they wouldn't use a corn oil from a genetically modified corn plant. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Which when we talk about the environmental impacts of stuff like this, that is a big talking point that I want to get into. But unfortunately, we just don't have time today because we just have to understand natural.
Sorry, we don't have time for a 7-hour episode.
Yeah. So that's the Cosmos EcoCert standard.
Okay.
What I could find, in order to be Cosmos natural, you just have to be all of that stuff above that I already mentioned, except you don't have to be organic. So all of this stuff, plus the addition of being organic, you would get the Cosmos Organic seal. And if you're not organic, then you'd get the natural seal.
Okay.
I could go on and on and on and on and on about how misleading the term organic is. That's also not the point of this episode. But scientifically, organic essentially means that it's made out of carbon and hydrogen bonds. Carbon is a really big deal in nature.
We love our carbon.
We do. All plants and all animals are organic. All plants are organic.
We are all Cosmos Organic certified.
Congratulations on being organic.
Oh my gosh.
This is where science and marketing lines really blur, if you can't already tell. When something is advertised as organic, this is not referring to the product itself, but instead the pesticides or other chemicals and processes that were involved in growing that product, making that product. Also, from this perspective, organic always would imply that it's natural, but scientifically, organic just describes the type of molecules that it's made out of. And you can, and people do, make
synthetic organics.
Yes, synthetic organics are made all the time.
Yeah, there's a whole field of chemistry
there is
just doing that.
They are made in the lab all the time, and once the molecule is synthesized, it is identical. You can synthesize water.
Yep.
And a water molecule is a water molecule, no matter where it came from. So
exactly. Are we still trying to come up with a definition for natural?
We are. Well,
how's that going?
No, we or just the world?
Just in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just reading off.
Well, yes.
You're like, why are you asking me this question?
No, I wrote that down in my notes because in my head, that that was my train of thought. Like, wait, are we still trying to do this? So then when you asked this, I was like, are we still trying to do this? The answer is yes.
Oh, that's funny.
I obviously mentioned so clearly what it means to be Cosmos Organic, right?
We know. I have the parameters memorized.
So yeah, Cosmos Natural, which is close to what we have as a natural definition, is like those parameters that I just already talked about, but just minus being organic.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so hopefully it's starting to maybe make sense why, as a scientist, this marketing is absolutely frying us.
Yeah. Like, I get what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But scientifically, it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yes. And unfortunately, the confusion is used to a company's benefit often. So,
yes.
So, yeah, we are still trying to define natural. But getting to the point, the industry standard of natural basically means that it's made of at least 99% natural origin content.
Oh my gosh. Which is not any more helpful. It's literally just the vibes.
It's natural as long as it's at least 99% made of natural.
Yeah. That's nuts.
No, yeah. Nature, it's a state of mind.
Yes.
But sometimes I actually do think it is just a state of mind, or maybe, depends on the day, the year, maybe. Who knows? Because if you recall from earlier, Cosmos doesn't like petrochemicals.
That comes from the ground.
That does come from the ground.
So why isn't it natural?
That's a good question. I don't know if everyone out there knows where crude oil, where petrol comes from.
Yeah, side note, if you're someone who is like, oh, I don't want to put petroleum on my face because it comes from gasoline, listen up. This is for you.
It does. We'll talk about it right now. But when we think about what crude oil is, like the oil that comes from the ground, it's actually so crazy to think about it. It's just dinosaur decomposition liquid, essentially.
Powering our cars.
Yeah.
And our homes.
Yeah. And like you said, it does come from the ground.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just someone's circle of life, as Modest Mouse once said. Someday you will die and somehow something's going to steal your carbon.
True.
Was Isaac singing about the dinosaurs and how we were going to use their decomposition liquids for powering our cars and making synthetic colorants?
Probably.
We may not ever know.
Did he ever do a Genius interview?
Comment below if you know what he was talking about in that lyric. Was it the dinosaurs?
We need to know.
Maybe. But some people can and do argue that crude oil is natural because it comes from the ground and it's made entirely up of organic material, which organic is sometimes by some people assumed to be natural, which we've learned is. Unless you make it.
We've learned
nothing.
Knows? Yeah.
But again, crude oil is not what is being used in cosmetics. No,
we don't take out a tank of gasoline and pour it into a beaker.
No, but human beings have actually been using crude oil as a cosmetic for forever. So people did take crude oil baths in ancient times.
I skipped over that in my ancient history of skincare episode.
Yeah, there was like big oil fats and stuff.
What were the benefits they were touting?
Skin healing and basically just like moisturization, like occlusiveness.
I cannot imagine what that does to your pH.
Yeah, they were like, we noticed like paraffin rings forming around the outside of the pools. Like that is, you're getting in a candle.
That's
a
nuts.
Stinky candle made of dead animals.
But we also still use paraffin treatments. So maybe there was some benefit to it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild, actually.
I think the first documented was like the 13th century. Yeah, but very long time ago. Over this long period of time, we have determined that parts of this crude oil are beneficial, but a lot of it also is not beneficial, at least for human skin. The oil is highly purified and all of the toxins are removed. Does that make it not natural anymore because we did that?
I mean, does that mean that going back to the pumpkin episode, we talked about how you can remove all the bad parts of a plant and then leave only the good parts?
Yeah.
So are those extracts not natural because we have removed the good parts and we only use those?
It's
the same process.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Is it the refining that makes it not natural? Because obviously we refine our natural ingredients too.
Because refined is different from synthetic. Question mark?
Maybe. That is a good question. Maybe it's because we have to refine it like a lot more than we would a natural thing. Wrong. In reality, natural things, like we did mention with the pumpkins, are filled with chemicals.
Yeah.
Filled with chemicals. And plant loves chemicals. Plant makes so many chemicals.
A lot. Even the phytokines.
Yes. Unfortunately, plants, they're full of chemicals. And the chemicals in those plants were not developed with you in mind. I hate to break it to you.
Okay, that's rude.
But that plant is looking out for number one.
Me.
No, it is plant. It is herself. And let's have a little empathy for the plants.
Justice for the plants. Put yourself in their leaves.
Literally. Not their shoes, because guess what? They don't have legs. No. So they have to make so many chemicals. Because what happens if a predator comes? No shoes.
What are you going to do? Fly away?
Nope. Yeah, obviously. Obviously, we know that animals in the wild, they come in all different shapes and sizes of danger. And even non-vicious looking predators, they can still hurt people if they feel threatened.
Like my dog. He hurts me emotionally more than anything.
With some animals, it's a lot easier to see kind of genetically how they have developed to survive their conditions. Sometimes with plants, it can be a little bit harder to see all the work they're putting in to survive their conditions. But we do need to think about how hard it would be to survive their conditions. We know some plants do things no one would argue. Roses, thorns are good for your hands.
True.
And I'm not trying to be like a nature hater necessarily. I love nature. I'm a big hiker. And no matter where I am in our gorgeous state of Utah, we have 5 beautiful national parks. Doesn't even capture any of the mountain ranges. So much wildlife to see, so many plants to see. And I love looking for all that. I love looking for fungus.
Yeah, she's a fungus girly.
I am. And I can attest that after I am in nature, I do feel like spiritually uplifted. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that nature loves me back. Actually, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you.
Yeah. The most dangerous chemicals in the whole world come from nature. I'm not even saying like, oh, nature makes some pretty crazy stuff. Humans have not even come close to synthesizing anything as toxic as nature has provided to us.
Wait, that's nasty.
Oh,
You're definitely getting flagged.
Yeah. Before we even touch on toxicology, I made some questionable searches, and I'd like to apologize to my FBI agent. I have no ill will. I'm researching.
This is for science.
This is for
research
science.
and development.
This is just to prove a point.
Oh, your best friend comes over and all of a sudden you're Googling top 5 chemicals to kill someone. Cyanide?
That is natural.
Arsenic?
They are going to be kind of hard for you to guess. Well, I guess arsenic is pretty high up there.
I don't know what it comes from.
Nature. It's an element.
So true.
It's not a good for you element,
No.
but it's all natural.
Well, where does it show up in nature? Like in plants?
Isn't there arsenic in the Great Salt Lake? Isn't that like the whole point?
Yeah, maybe.
The whole point. Isn't that like why we have it?
Literally.
Isn't that like why we put it in?
The population with arsenic.
One of them that I had heard of before is a popular rat poison. Strychnine.
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of strychnine?
Strychnine?
Strychnine.
No.
Ammotoxin, which is found in a mushroom. Ricin, which is in the castor plant.
Oh, yeah, it's like ricinus, huh?
Well, just ricin.
Ricinus communis. Oh, but
Yeah.
like the inky name for castor oil.
Ricinus.
Yeah. Communis or something.
And then, for whatever reason, I did not list the 5, but the top 5 deadliest substances in the world are all natural. And the very most deadliest of them all just so happens to be quite popular in the anti-aging industry.
What could it be?
What could it be?
Everyone comment your guesses right now.
Botulinum toxin, also known as botulism or Botox.
That's
Bum,
nuts.
bum, bum.
We're injecting the most dangerous toxin into our faces.
We are.
Cool.
I know. Isn't that so crazy?
Hey, anything in the name of beauty.
Yeah. The botulinum toxin is thousands of times more toxic than anything we've synthesized. It's a lot. It doesn't take much to get you.
Which, like, we don't want to fearmonger about Botox. Botox is actually pretty safe.
Botox is pretty safe
if you do it with like an actual injector. But
we do want to fearmonger against improperly canned foods.
Yes. If we're gonna fearmonger against anything,
keep your cans proper. This has been already quite a lot of information.
Yeah.
The last little thing that I do want to cover for this is consumers, we lean toward natural because it just, it feels natural.
There is kind of an implication that like it's better for the environment because it comes from the planet and therefore like synthetic is worse for the environment.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
Again, no blanket statements can be made in the making of this episode. I think it's important that you brought that up because as consumers, we do tend to only really think of the end of life part of a product because that's the part that we see.
Yeah.
So it is kind of tempting, that idea of getting a natural product and you're using it and, it might be going down the drain and ending up in our water. And in theory, it seems so much better if it's like, at least it's a natural thing that's like going back into the earth. We're also thinking about the packaging. Is my plastic bottle going to end up in a landfill where it's not going to biodegrade? Maybe there's natural packaging is better because it's for whatever reasons,
Yeah.
There's a lot of common misconceptions, unfortunately.
A lot of that is also probably because that's like at the front of mind too. Like you see the bottle, so therefore you're more curious about that rather than like, oh, how are the ingredients that were used to make my product sourced and produced?
Exactly. Yeah. The product that you are using, it has a very long lifespan before it gets to you. And you using it and throwing the packaging away, that's just the very end of it. But there's that whole supply chain before of getting a starting material and then doing whatever process needs to be done to converting it to a cosmetic ingredient and then making that cosmetic ingredient into a product and then
producing the product.
Yes, producing the packaging and then putting the product into the packaging and then producing all the shipping components and then shipping the product out. And then eventually all this time later, it gets to you and you use it and then you throw it away. So those are the two steps that as a consumer, you are inclined to feel are the most important.
Yes.
And they're not unimportant.
Yeah.
There's also just so much more to consider. In general, humans, we're using up a lot of space for agriculture.
Yes, we are. And a lot of water.
We do be growing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Human agricultural needs are the biggest threat to biodiversity, unfortunately. If we're growing massive amounts of crops, we need to make space for them. And by making space for crops, we're removing everything that once naturally lived there. On top of the fact that we're also building houses and cities and all of that. Obviously, this isn't a bad thing. Farming like this is how we're able to have affordable food and
it's important for humans to have food and agriculture.
Yeah. There are 8 billion people in the world. It's going to be tough in some areas.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to argue that food isn't a need.
I wouldn't make that argument.
Anyway. So farming, not all the way bad, especially because not everybody has the means to grow their own food or hunt.
Yeah.
There's no denying, though, that there are some major environmental impacts of this as well.
Of course, yeah.
That is just something that I kind of want to think about a little bit more when we are talking about naturally sourced ingredients. What does that actually mean?
And like what implications does that have on the environment?
Yeah, because I think as consumers of cosmetic products, especially consumers of natural products, we like to think that there's some wonderful gatherer going out into nature and picking flowers and gathering seeds and then putting them into a cosmetic. And
that's what the suppliers will tell
you. Yeah, I can think of at least one ad that has depictions like this of just gathering all of the natural ingredients and they just simply mix it with magic and it's wonderful.
It's perfectly sustainable.
That is a really nice story.
Yeah. There could be truth to it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say.
It's so hard to say, but also let me remind you that there are 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
And if you're able to purchase this personally harvested and selected cosmetic just on TikTok shop, it's probably not ethical.
Yeah.
Or they're lying to you. With that many people on this earth, the resources just aren't there currently for people to just be going out in nature and collecting ingredients to make cosmetics. There is still wild harvesting of ingredients, but that opens up an entirely different ethical question because people do go out and get things from the wild. But one thing that I do want to just really make clear is that it takes a lot of plant to make a cosmetic ingredient. Like we mentioned with the crude oil and the pumpkin, there's a lot of other stuff in there that we don't want. There have been a lot of ethical issues around harvesting wild plants for cosmetics because you need to have so much. And where there are 8 billion people in the world. It's safe to assume that if you feel the need to go out and illegally harvest plants to make cosmetics, then like other people probably do too.
Right.
There have been instances where plants have been hunted to extinction, or where plants are getting closer to extinction, are endangered. One example that I won't really get into is Indian sandalwood, but that is one that is illegally harvested, and it takes so long for it to grow, 30 to 60 years. I mean, you can harvest it after 15 to 30, but it becomes more valuable after.
That's crazy. That kind of reminds me of agave and how it only flowers once in its life and then it dies.
Yeah.
And it takes forever to grow.
Yeah. These are the types of things that we do need to be thinking about, and why we can't just make a blanket statement about like natural is good, natural is bad.
Yeah.
Some plants do take years and years and years to grow and don't yield much material.
Or like rose oil.
Rose oil. Yeah.
It takes so many roses.
A lot of roses.
Like an unfathomable amount of roses.
It's actually so crazy.
Yeah.
So in theory, we could use plants that are already like growing natively, or maybe even better, they're invasive and we need to get rid of them anyway. And yes, this does happen. The environmental stuff that I did want to touch on is more just like a teaser. That's another full episode, is environmental impacts of natural versus synthetic, because that's where I really went wild with my notes, and we just really don't have time to talk about that today. What I want, if anything, for people to be taking out of this episode, it's just that it is so complex, and you should not feel afraid or guilty or anything for any of the choices that you make.
Yeah.
Because again, ultimately, it's on the brands to make sure that they are sourcing ethical ingredients. It is good for consumers to know generally what is and is not ethical when it comes to cosmetic ingredients, but the goal is mostly just to give you an idea of how hard it is to define natural, and hopefully that gives you some peace in knowing that it's not that important to stick to, you know? Like,
yeah.
I also don't want anyone to feel like they have to be using natural for any reason. Hopefully this gives you some clarity to at least say, like, am I using a natural product because I like it, or because I feel like I have to because it's better for the environment? Because that may not be the case.
Well, another reason that I think a lot of people use or gravitate towards natural ingredients is because they believe that products with synthetic ingredients are bad for their health. That's like a very common one. And we're not going to really comment on like whether or not things are good or bad for your health. We're not doctors, but I do think that understanding that chemically it's the same whether it comes from the plant or comes from a lab, like vitamin C, for example, it is chemically the same whether or not it's synthesized from an orange versus made in a lab.
To that point also, there are some materials that we actually require be made synthetically because the natural version is too at risk of contamination.
Right.
One of them being iron oxides used for colorants. If you're using a sunscreen and it's tinted brown and the back says iron oxides and it's claiming to be all natural.
Wrong.
Yeah. Natural iron oxides have too much lead.
That's so interesting.
So they have to be synthetic.
Yeah.
In an upcoming episode, we are going to be talking a little bit more about making product decisions. And ultimately, you should be using a product because you like the performance.
Don't make product decisions out of fear.
Yes.
Don't do it because you're afraid that other products are going to hurt you or harm you. Do it because you genuinely like the product and how it performs.
Exactly.
I think that's like at the end of the day, the messaging.
Yeah.
So if you prefer natural, that's fine. But I think as long as you're educated in the fact that there's not chemically a huge difference between natural versus synthetic materials all the time.
The one thing that like I think we do want to dispel is that natural inherently means anything at all.
Yes.
It doesn't. Natural doesn't mean it's better for you. There's so many bad things in nature. Natural doesn't mean it's better for the environment. There's a lot of issues with that, which we'll get into in a later episode. Natural doesn't mean that it's gonna wash off and be better for the environment. Unfortunately, natural things are much more likely to interact with the environment than synthetic things are.
Yeah.
Do you know what's really non-reactive? Dimethicone. Dimethicone. And I keep apologizing for dimethicone, but man,
don't apologize.
I love her. So
yeah.
If you are trying out an all natural shampoo because you think your hair is going to be better from it, but you're like, this is not good, then switch shampoos because the natural thing doesn't make it any better for the environment. It doesn't make it any better for you. It doesn't make it any better at all.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I learned so much about the wild world of natural ingredients.
There's a lot of answers. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but there's also just like the whole answer is kind of like, well, I don't know. What I do want to leave you with is as long as you are buying cosmetics from a reputable company, I mean, people can break the law. Let's keep that in mind.
Yes.
As long as you are buying legally made cosmetics, they are safe to use. That part, you can set that aside. There is a case for irritation.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, natural stuff, it can irritate you too.
It can. There's so much nuance.
There's so much.
There's nuance in everything. Everything is so complicated, but hopefully you understand a little bit more about what's going on with natural versus synthetic. And we'll definitely revisit this in future episodes.
We will. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Check out our blog post where we'll have all of Nat's notes and sources on our website, beautyxspeaker.com.
Please, like I said, let us know if you have any questions or want any more episodes regarding this topic. I already have the notes.
She's ready
to
go.
So I'm just dying to tell you. I just ran out of time.
She needs one person to say.
Literally, one person say, tell me about toxicology. And I will say, boy, do I have a story for you.
And follow us on our socials. We're at BeautyXspeaker everywhere. I'm also on Instagram at SadieBXB.
And I'm there as NatBXB.
And then we'll see you guys next week for a whole episode about hair care.
Ooh.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye. That's my favorite thing to do. And Owen needs to go outside.